What's up? It's Martin here. Today I'm going to be answering your MedSci related questions, whether it be course related questions, general questions, questions about research, or any other questions that are related to finding a work-life balance, as well as any miscellaneous questions such as applying from high school to get to this program. So today I'll be joined by Harsh Patel, who is going to be a first-year medical sciences student coming this fall. So if you find this video helpful and enjoyed it, make sure to smash that like button, and as always, timestamps will be in the description and pinned comment down below. So yeah, let's get right into it.
So the first couple of questions basically are about MedSci in and of itself. First question being kind of how was your general experience at Western? What was the overall atmosphere like? And are the students friendly, competitive, supportive, etc.?
So my general experience at Western is like, you can't really encapsulate it in a couple sentences because it's like a year's worth of experience. So generally, I would say that my experience this year was pretty good because I spent my time doing things that I actually enjoyed. For example, if I were to join clubs that I didn't really find much purpose with, for example, if I were to join a pre-med society just because I think it would look good on my resume, I don't think that would have been as enjoyable as joining, for example, the Western Dragon Boat team, because my experience there was actually very fun because I found a group of people that I can work out with and progress with through fitness. The second part of the question was the overall atmosphere, and I'd say that it's different for everyone because you hang out with different people. But from my experience, my roommates were really chill this year, and living on residence was actually a really good experience. It was better than I thought.
And just to add on to that, I feel like in terms of overall atmosphere, you find what you're looking for. So if you're finding an environment where you can study and at the same time not be stressful, there's like, of course, there's libraries. And you also have your friends there to kind of support you. So, and on the contrary, if you're looking to kind of ease back into the chair and kind of relax, that's always possible. Because once again, you have your friends there and you have kind of all these different facilities you can use.
The tools are there for you to use as long as you look for them. So don't always stay in your room and study all the time because that can be pretty depressing, not gonna lie. Because that was basically me the first month or so when I was there. And I think there was a third part of the question. Can you refresh me on that?
Yeah, so the third part of the question was basically related to the students. Would you say the students are friendly, competitive, supportive, etc.?
I mean, there's a bit of everything, you know? In every cohort or like class of MedSci, let's say, there's always going to be the few people that are out there to just try to be the best and not really cooperate with many other people. But it's all about who you surround yourself with, as I said before. Like, I'm sure there's people that would like to chill, party. I don't know what you like to do, but I'm sure there's some people there that will meet your interests, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of the cohort, would you say that the METSA has a tight-knit cohort? And specifically referring to the difficulty of the program, how difficult is MedSci?
When you come into first year MedSci, the class size is roughly about 700 or 800 people. So I wouldn't say we're that tight knit because honestly, I don't even think I know 10% of the people, not gonna lie. Right? So if you're expecting a tight knit community, I wouldn't really expect that because this university is so big and the program is pretty big as well. So I wouldn't say it would be too tight knit, but when you join clubs and stuff, you have like other sub communities besides the program. So those aren't the only people that you're going to be seeing around. And as for the difficulty of the program, I'd say I wouldn't actually know the answer to that because I've only finished my first year. But judging from what I've currently experienced, it's not very difficult if you've been doing well in your high school classes. Of course, like there are differences between each high school's difficulty. So I'd say even if you did well in high school, just try not to slack because that's pretty easy to do because there's a lot of distractions and a lot of new things that you have to adapt to. So I think it's as difficult as you make it to be, even if you start from a slight disadvantage from high school.
So the next question is, I think, a question that basically every pre-med student has. That question being, what can you do with a bachelor's of medical science degree besides medical school and besides medicine?
Like a lot of people joke that that's pretty much the only thing you do with it. You go med or you bust. But there's a lot of other pathways that you can go to, like dentistry, physio, even stuff like forensics. Basically anything that you can do with a typical life science degree, basically this can cover similar areas of interest, like research as well, because in our fourth year we have a research project that we get to conduct. It's not just medicine, even though it might seem like the vast majority of people want to go to medicine, but that's only in the first year. I think people change that up as time goes on.
Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty sure there's also the ability to teach, like becoming a professor after you get
Oh yeah,
your PhD.
definitely. That's a big one. I forgot about that one.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. So the next couple of questions are kind of related to the courses that you will take. So the first question, a generic one, what type of courses do you take in MedSci? I would say for first year for the time being.
So the courses that you have to take first year include a full year of biology, physics, chemistry, half a year of calculus, and the other half is either a calculus or a math. The last course that you would take, being 1.0, which is a full credit, can be whatever you want. So really, your elective choices are kind of limited as a first year.
Mm-hmm. And could you just kind of elaborate on kind of the courses you're taking second year and maybe beyond that?
So the courses that you take second year are kind of based on what you want to specialize in your third year. So the courses that I plan on taking next year include physiology for a full year, anatomy, stats, genetics, organic chemistry, microimmunology, methods for biology, and a full year of English.
Just to add on to that, what module are you planning on taking for third year?
Oh, so for modules, the one that I'm trying to go for is honor specialization in physiology, maybe pharmacology. Yeah, that's why I'm taking the courses that I'm taking, because the prerequisites for that, I believe, are organic chemistry, stats, genetics, organic chemistry, and cell biology. And then the rest of those courses that I listed before are going to be electives besides the course. Well, yeah, are going to be electives.
Interesting. Just referring back to first year, this is kind of a more specific question. That being said, kind of how hard are the physics courses, and what do you recommend taking, Physics 1028 or 1301?
As for difficulty of the physics courses, I think people usually think physics is a hard course, and also because if most of the people are asking the questions, watch my YouTube channel, that's one of the courses I did not as good on compared to the other courses that I took this year. I wouldn't say that physics is super hard, but the only reason that I didn't do as well this year on this course is because I didn't really do much practice and I didn't really keep up with the course that often. I don't even think I went to class half the time, not gonna lie. And whether or not I would take 1028 versus 1301, I don't know which one I would recommend actually. If you were to play it safe, quote unquote, then 1028, I guess. If I were to force to give my opinion on it, it's not very hard considering I did okay. Not saying that slacking is a good thing, but it wasn't as hard as I thought it would have been considering how much I worked on it.
Yeah, understandable. I'm essentially guessing if you put in the time, you put in the effort, you put in the work, you study effectively and you study smart, I'm pretty sure you could do as great. Like you could do pretty good on both of them.
Yeah. As long as you're like actually interested in physics. Like I think one of the reasons why I didn't work as hard on this course is because I don't know how much I like physics. Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Kind of going off that question, what do you recommend, or how do you recommend someone can prepare for courses such as Physics 1301 and Physics 1028?
Like for preparing for like midterms and exams and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Find the past exams and do them. I don't think I had my hands on many past exams, if at all. So I don't think I had very relevant practice. And I think that's what I was missing when dealing with these physics problems. If you're the type of person that wouldn't study outside of class, then at least go to class and learn the material if you're not going to do it on your own. Yeah, basically don't do what I did. Don't skip that much class for physics. Unless you really think that you can learn faster on your own and are willing to actually go forth and do it.
Perfect. So the next couple of questions are kind of tailored toward finding a balance in your life and kind of the different extracurriculars and academics you're kind of involved in. So the first question being was, how do you find a balance in your academic obligations, your social life, and other independent creative pursuits that you have, such as your YouTube channel, as you mentioned before? And in doing so, in kind of balancing everything that you have to do in a day, Is it kind of difficult to kind of balance everything while maintaining a relatively high GPA?
When talking about work-life balance, I don't think any of us have that completely figured out. Not even myself. I think I'm not very great at that. I don't believe there's a perfect work-life balance. It's really hard to balance and do well in multiple areas. Like doing well in one or two areas is what most people can achieve. And I don't think that's a bad thing, because achieving perfection is not something we should all try to achieve, because none of us are actually perfect. And aiming that high is honestly not very healthy for the majority of people. And as for how to try to maintain a decent work-life balance, I'd say at least know that you're not going to be perfect. And that's like the first step, I would say. And then from there, you would just try to prioritize a couple of things that you find that are most important to you. For example, for me, I think I would try to prioritize getting a high GPA and probably the YouTube channel. It depends. If you try to prioritize, like, I don't know, 5, 6 things at once, I don't think you're going to get the results that you want to get, right? Because if you want to get good grades, have a good social life, also have a lot of extracurriculars, have a YouTube channel, I don't know. If you try to do everything, like, you're gonna suffer in other areas of your life. For example, you're probably not gonna get much sleep if you do that. And is this difficult to do while maintaining a high GPA? Well, if you prioritize the other things more than your GPA, then I'd say, yeah, it'll be pretty hard. But the more things that you take on, the harder it is to maintain your GPA.
Yeah, I think if you do a lot of things at once, there's just too much on your plate that you won't be able to achieve what you're really striving to do. And I think that's kind of the main lesson from here.
Yeah.
So the second question is, how have you managed kind of your stress levels, if any, and kind of what led you to as effective as study methods you can possibly achieve?
Um, how have I managed stress? Not perfect. But that's okay, honestly. I think something that helped me a lot this year was just joining the Dragon Boat team, as I said, because it's something that I actually like to do. I like to be active. Even if it seems like I can't fit physical activity into my schedule, I think that really forced me to maintain a certain level of activity. And I think that helped blow off some steam sometimes, I guess you can say. Effective study methods. During high school, I studied pretty effectively, at least in my last year of high school. I was one of the better students in a lot of the subjects that I took. I think I developed that from an earlier stage of my education, and I think I carried that over. So I'd say try to find some inspiration from other people and see if that works for you. It's just a game of trial and error, and I think you just have to be patient with finding what works for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So the next kind of two questions is more tailored towards research opportunities. The first one being, how do you find research opportunities in first year? I know that it's pretty rare to find research opportunities in first year. So just kind of talk about that and kind of elaborate on how you can find research opportunities in upper years.
As you said before, it's not as common to find research positions in your first year of university, but it's certainly possible. You just have to be very proactive in these things. One, I'd say to talk to your professors and just get to know them better. It's quite difficult to imagine doing this because your class sizes are so big, but try to use office hours because not a lot of people do that. And that's one of the mistakes I had this year, was not using the office hours to know my professors better. And another thing that you can do is cold emailing, which I also didn't do because I was always late to the game for these things. And hopefully you guys don't repeat the mistakes that I had this year. So I'd say that if you want to find a research opportunity, you would just go to Western's, don't exactly know which page that is. But using Google, you can find a list of professors that conduct research at the university, and just grabbing their emails and cold emailing a bunch of professors, hoping that you'll get a reply back. That's like pretty much one of the only ways, besides talking to your professors, to get a research opportunity. If you want to start your position in the summertime, then I'd say like December or January is the time that you want to do this. And if you want to start during the next school year, you should probably email them before July. The more emails you send, the better, basically. So just have to work to email a lot of professors. So yeah, it's just a grind game, basically, a numbers game.
Mm-hmm. And so you would want to do that months prior, correct?
Yeah, because they're not going to look for people on that short of a notice. Yeah.
The next question is kind of personalized and tailored towards you. That being said, what are some research opportunities that you're kind of thinking for applying for in the near and upcoming future?
Honestly, I haven't really thought of that, which is not very good on my part. I'm not very proactive in finding these opportunities. And I'm also not the most interested in doing research. So that's probably why that's not on the top of my priority list. Hopefully in the future, I'll answer what type of research that I'd like to get in once I've actually started looking into it. So I don't think I can answer that question now, but I will try to do that in the future.
Awesome. So the next question is kind of tailored towards kind of specializations in third year. What are all the basic medical science modules that you can specialize in third year? I know that there are a lot.
As you said, there's a ton of modules that you can apply for in your third year. I'll just leave that in the description below. There's a list of honor specializations and other modules that you can apply for in your third year of Med Sci.
So the next couple of questions are tailored towards kind of application and high school related questions. Would you say that it is easier to get accepted if a student is in the IB program?
I wouldn't say it's easier or harder because I'm not part of the admissions committee of Western or any other school. Try to see what Western says on their own site, if they have any preference towards an IB diploma or not. Personally, I don't think it makes much of a difference because there are some IB students that do really well, but there are also IB students that don't fare so well in the program as well. So there's too much variance between IB programs. There's really good ones, just like how there's really good high schools, and there's others that are a little bit questionable. Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect. So the next question being, if you're willing to share, what was your grade 12 average?
When applying, my top 6 average was 95.3, I think.
Nice.
And at the end of the year, it was a bit lower at 94.67. I hope that answers the question.
And what would you say is the minimum average you would need to get into medical sciences?
That would be on the website. I'm pretty sure it changes a little bit from year to year, having an upward trend because grade inflation is a thing. So I don't know if I can answer that question for the coming years, but I think the minimum average was 90, right? Or 92. 90 or 92.
Yeah, from what I understand, it was somewhere in the low 90s for sure.
There's so much variance between high schools that it doesn't really matter that much as long as you put in the effort and study effectively during your time here. Because even the last question, if you're asking about my grade 12 average, it doesn't really mean much if you're not from the same high school as me. So
perfect. And the last question in this set of questions is, other than prerequisites and other academic requirements, are there other things that potential applicants should consider doing to strengthen their application?
Okay, so I'd say to make your application stronger, I'd say to just do things that you're actually genuinely interested in to develop your perspectives and just yourself as a person. If you have to write supplementary applications for university, I'd say do things that will develop you as a person and stuff that you can talk about, not only in the sense of, oh, I did this, so I have this skill, but I did this and I experienced this, so therefore I know how to deal with certain situations. Yeah, just go out there and experience more because I didn't have much experience doing extracurriculars in high school. So I'm a little behind on that, but do what you can. Just don't overwhelm yourself, but don't chill too much either. Don't just sit back and just study all the time because that's all you're going to know as a person. Yeah.
Yeah. And just to add on, I strictly believe in the fact that experience is what builds a person. And basically all these supplementary applications, all they're asking for is who you are as a person. Yeah. And so for sure, these experiences and skills that you've gained, all you need to do is kind of articulate them on a piece of paper or if it's typed up or whatever it may be. And that's it. And so if you have these experiences, that's kind of what forms you as a person. And that's the best way to kind of strengthen your application, in my perspective.
And adding on to that, don't just do things just to have something to talk about. There's a big distinction between what you actually want to do versus what you think admissions committee wants you to bring to the table. Don't just do something because it would look good, because when you start writing about it, they'll kind of know that you did it just to check something off the checkbox. So
yeah, exactly. All right, here comes the med school related questions. The first question.
I'm a second year, bro. I'm a second year, bro. Okay, yeah, keep going.
The first question being, how many years of med school to become a doctor?
Med school is typically 4 years long, but some programs such as Calgary and McMaster are 3 years long.
Mm-hmm. The second question, does Western's med school value GPA over ECs, and how valuable is it to have multiple extracurriculars?
Okay, so I don't have any personal affiliation with Western because I'm just a student there. So I don't know how I would answer this question without kind of BSing it. I'd say they're both equally as important because one, you have to have your experiences, as we said before, to actually have something to talk about and relate to as a person when you're doing interviews. But just know that interviews are always a thing, so extracurriculars are always going to play a factor. GPA, I mean, once your foot's in the door for the interview, I don't think that matters as much. It just matters when you initially apply. And once you meet the cutoff, it's not a big deal. I think in that aspect, if maintaining a good GPA is not really an issue for you, then I guess having better extracurriculars is probably something that you could prioritize more. As for how valuable it is to have multiple extracurriculars, I'd say that quality is better than quantity, even though there's a lot of spaces to fill in extracurriculars for your application. I think it's more meaningful if you have a few experiences that you're truly dedicated to instead of having a whole bunch of filler experiences that you only do for a couple of months, because you really don't have much to go on when you speak about these experiences. And it's kind of questionable if you jump from experience to experience that quickly. So, yeah.
Awesome. All right. Now, the last 3 questions are kind of some general questions that our followers had. The first question being, do more opportunities to shadow and get a sense of what it's like to work as a doctor arise in university compared to high school?
Personally, I don't have much experience with shadowing, and I'm not sure if it's actually legal in some parts of Canada, because for states, that's widely accepted, but I'm not so sure about shadowing in Canada. I'd say more opportunities do arise because a lot of universities are affiliated with a hospital. And I feel like if you get to talk to your professors and the people that are involved around the hospital, then you could have a chance to shadow. I just don't know about the legal implications in Canada. There are some provinces that allow shadowing, and there's some that like privacy is a concern. So I'd say to just ask around when the opportunity arises. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. The second question is, how do you spend your summers? For example, studying, volunteering, and doing some other stuff.
So far for this summer, I've taken a couple of summer courses to get more space in my schedule next year. And for the next little while, I'll probably be volunteering at a hospital, just a basic volunteer position to get a little bit of experience, because in high school, I didn't really go out and experience things for myself. So in my free time, I just try to relax. I don't think I spend that much time studying unless I'm doing summer courses, which I've already finished. But I'd say there's no one right way to spend your summers because everybody has a different experience during the year, and whether or not you have the mental capacity to continue doing more school or just if you need to take some time to relax, it's really up to you. So there's just too many things that you can do with the summer. You can travel, you can go on vacation, you can study, you can volunteer, you can do research. I don't know. It's really up to you. So if it's going to stress you out a bunch, then consider doing a little bit less. So that's what I'd say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you for sure do not want to burn out in the summer, because then when school starts, it's not going to look good. So just take your time. If you need to take some time off studying or doing whatever you're doing that's kind of stressing you out, take that time off.
Definitely.
Awesome. So the last question is a kind of a generic one. Any general advice about university, and what advice would you give your first year self?
General advice. Well, I could say a lot of things, but I'd say the main thing is to not lose sight of your own values. And I think I've said this like a billion times in this little Q&A, but don't do things just because you think other people will see it in a positive light. But if you do things just for the sake of other people and looking good on the med school application, for example, then it's pretty hard to maintain that in the long term. And yeah, mental health is severely underrated. So just get involved with things that you know that you can be proud and happy doing. And what I would say to myself is work is overrated, and being productive all the time is not necessary if you know that you've done enough. Just enjoy the process of going to university and enjoy your time there. Stop looking too far into the future and enjoy the present moment that you get to experience day to day, because looking too far in the future is kind of pointless, and there's nothing to really worry about if you know that you're giving it your best in the present. So, yeah.
Perfect. So with that question concludes our Q&A with Martin. And before we exit, would you like to just add anything?
Any last comments? If you're going to med sci next year and you're studying a lot right now, just stop stressing so much about it. It's not going to be as difficult as some people make it out to be. Yeah. So that's about it for this video. If you enjoyed it and found it helpful, make sure to share it with a friend and smash that like button, as well as hit that subscribe button with post notifications on if you want to see more content like this. So that's about it for me. See ya.